Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This week I'm going to go ahead and dive into that kind of quote-unquote disclaimer video that I said I was going to do this week. I guess the disclaimers of the video would be, don't guilt or shame yourself if you have a hard time with these things. They're just things to make you more aware, things to, make you think deeper. And then as engagement, more people come around, that soul family type thing, the tribe starts to form. I'll get deeper into certain subjects, but I'm just kind of doing things at surface level right now. So, I have notes. Another thing, I have notes. So first things first, it's all about your mindset. Doing the work on yourself, it's not punishment, it's growth. First and foremost, a lot of people will distance themselves from you because they're not willing to look at themselves. Self-awareness, that mindset of thinking before you speak, of, thinking the thoughts that you have and calling yourself out for the negative ones, calling yourself out for the things that, you think that you put yourself down. It's a mindset shift. You weren't born bad. And so essentially, don't feel some kind of way because, you had one day where you were just flustered and you thought, oh, I'm such a horrible person. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Don't beat yourself up for that. Because the fact that you're able to call yourself out and say like, hey, I shouldn't talk to myself like that, or I shouldn't say those things to other people the way I said them. It's all part of the path of growth. As far as when you do say things out loud or when you do think things, the more you think them, the more reinforced that is going to become in your subconscious. It's not so much that you have to be careful. It's that it affects your frequency. It affects the way you come into a room. It affects subconscious things, affect your outwardly appearance. Like it puts out a signal of frequency to everybody else. And so if you've ever walked into a room and you've like gotten a bad vibe from somebody, it's usually because their thoughts, the way they are, like it's not vibing with you. If you've ever felt like, somebody has a darkness to them, it's because that frequency that they're on is lower. It's important to keep in mind the people you have around you as well. So as far as that goes, societal norms, societal roles, masculine, feminine type things, the stupid red pill crap that's going around that, women are supposed to be submissive and we're just supposed to accept everything a man does because of his perceived status or everybody else's, thought on him. If you're not a good person, you're not a good person type thing. So that being said, don't let anybody force you into a box. Don't let anybody shoulda, woulda, could you, coulda, woulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda you. Focus on those things this week. The way you think about yourself, the way you speak, and what others are trying to influence you. Everybody has a bias. It's usually in your own favor, regardless of, what they say or what you say. Our goal here is, I guess, self-preservation. You don't have to put up with everybody else's stuff. And then as far as the goal of the shadow work is to have that wholeness within. So I guess as far as outside influence, validation, people to sit there and tell you that you're doing what you should be doing, or, oh, that's their opinion. That's what they've been, subconsciously programmed to believe. What is going to make you happy? What is going to make you feel good about where you are? What drives you? What brings you that joy? A lot of people don't focus on that. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I guess when you know that you've reached that wholeness, you won't care about other people's opinions of you. You won't get sucked into the chaos or the drama. You'll just say, ew, that disturbs my peace. I'm going to take a step back type thing, Everyday challenges won't disrupt that peace. Things that happen, nails and tires, restructuring at your company. It won't, you'll just go with the flow and you'll feel like you're in flow. And then you'll find yourself being grateful for things. Even if you don't have a lot, be grateful for it. That's one of the things that, you got to think about. Think of the things you do have. Half full cup instead of that half empty one. It's very important. Don't compare yourself to others. That's important because everybody's on a different path and you should be happy on the path that you're on. Be happy on your path and with your growth, essentially. And then a key thing that's important moving through the shadow work and even past it is when you do have that deep emotional reaction, that trigger, whatever you want to call it. Depending on where you are, you're going to either want to take note of it, write it in your phone, on your notes app, put it on a little piece of paper, stick it in your pocket. Hopefully you check your pockets before you wash your clothes and, deal with that, figure out where it comes from later if it's not appropriate in your setting. Anger sometimes comes from a lack of control. Anger sometimes comes because you feel like people are trying to push you around. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody's path is different. So it's really a specialized thing, and that's why I offer the modalities I do, because it deals with the energetic and the subconscious things that we've been told, that we've, believe. And so go ahead and think about these things this week. Sorry. I got a little crink in my back. Think about, number one, how you think. You're not going to get it right all the time. You're going to have those negative thoughts that pass through your head. And you know what? That's okay. No guilt, no shame. It's just your subconscious programming. Number two, your organic language. Think about the way you speak, the way you word things. And then number three, your roles in society, your masculine and feminine integration. It's okay to be powerful. It's okay to say what you think as a woman. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not happy with that. I don't want to do that. As a man, it's okay to have emotions. These are a lot of things that society has conditioned us to not think of as acceptable. Men have emotions. Women have strength. We don't need a man for everything, and it's about integration. And then I'll go more into depth in later videos, but this is just kind of a general idea to get that ball rolling, to get that thought process processing before I dive into the shadow work. I think I'm going to do perspective next week on the chaos, on the negatives. It's somewhat spiritual. I very much do have spiritual practices and things like that, and it's not necessarily, you know, religion. It is a spiritual practice that, you know, settles inside. And when you feel like you can draw on things that are not outside of you, that are not, you know, variables, you're going to feel a whole lot better. And so you got to get in touch with that higher self, that higher power that is inside of you. My book, Shadow to Light Work, The Intentional Journey of Healing, Self-Discovery, and Purpose. And then the back of the book, my website is down there at the bottom, astahypnotherapy.com. If you like the idea of going through and actually doing the work, actually going through the motions of digging down deep within yourself, you can either follow, because I'm going to do a video on what it is exactly, and then I'm going to go through the tips and tricks, you know, to get to the bottom of certain emotions and, you know, fears, things like that. And then I'm going to go through and do the self-discovery portion, as well as finding your purpose, finding, you know, what drives you, what makes you happy, what fills your soul with peace. And so if you want to continue to be on that journey, you can either go ahead and follow the channel, like, subscribe the video, leave a comment if you do have questions. And then you can also go to my website and fill out a form and work with me personally. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys next week. Bye.